studios of Creative Conversations with Dr. C. You are entering the studios of Creative Conversations with Dr. C.
Welcome to the conversation.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of Creative Conversations with Dr. C. It has been truly a long time since I've been out here, but I am grateful that I have another opportunity to come to you with some great information and a wonderful guest tonight. This is the beginning of March. I can't believe it. We're already 3 months into a new year. And we're celebrating Women History Month. And what a better way to start the month off with a beautiful, beautiful individual that will be coming on shortly. Miss Pamela Coleman, my sister from another mother, had the opportunity to meet this beautiful spirit about 2.5 years ago at the Atlanta women's events. 2 years ago. But I'm equally grateful for her to come on my platform. We had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time together about a couple weeks ago, and we'll talk a little bit about that once I bring her on. But again, thank you for joining us tonight with a wonderful edition about mental health. Is something that we really need to talk about, and Miss Pamela Coleman is one of the expertise, as I say, in this field. So without further ado, I am going to bring Ms. Coleman on, and we're going to get this conversation started with her. Well, hello, my beautiful sister.
What's happening?
How are you?
I'm exhausted, but that's another story for another time.
I know, I was just telling the audience that I had the opportunity to meet you a couple years back. Has it been almost 2 years?
Can you believe it?
I mean, time is just going by, but just briefly told them that we met in Atlanta, and we didn't even know each other, but we have become budding sisters over the years, and just love the progress that I've seen in you over the last 2-3 years. And I kind of told them we kind of met up a couple weeks ago at another event in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
So I was explaining to them that you are a guru of mental health, and with this changing environment that we're in now, we need to talk about that aspect. January 21st was an eye-opener for a lot of people, and I think this is the best way to start Women's History Month, talking about your baby, which is mental health. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Miss Pamela Coleman, and I'm going to let you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into our conversation.
Where do I begin? I don't even know. Where do I begin? When they ask me that question, I'm like, what do I say about myself? Well, I can
say a lot of things about you.
Really?
But I can't. If you want me to say a little bit about you, I can definitely say that. When I first met you 3 years ago, we sat at a table, literally arms away from each other.
Total strangers.
Mm-hmm. Literally total strangers. We had met that day, and we just sparked up this conversation that felt like we had been friends forever.
Mhm.
and a really pure soul, a really good individual, somebody that you can depend on, and always willing to give advice, and always just being there. And so I felt that, because that was my first event as an author at the time, not as a publishing company, just as an author, not as a podcaster, none of that. It was just new green to my first book out, and you did up my table, you made me feel at ease, and it was just a really good feeling for somebody who was new to that arena, somebody who was fresh off, they said fresh off the boat. I was fresh off the inside of the car coming from Virginia
Right.
to Atlanta. But it felt as if I had known you forever. And this same sentiment I can say today, that we've kept in touch from that day on, from that point on. It was like, we got to keep in touch. And most times when
Mhm.
you tell people, when you see people at events like that, you say that, and it's like, yeah, I'll keep in touch.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
never really do, but that
That
was not the case um, with you. We literally kept in contact
every day.
every day.
Almost every day.
Yes. And so I say that to say that, when I always tell people your word is your bond,
Mhm.
you kept your word that we were going to stay in contact, and we have. And it's what, 3 years later?
Can you
Uh,
believe it?
Man,
Woo.
it's been a long time. It's been the ups and downs, the growth, and all that good stuff. But
Mhm.
we truly have, stuck to that saying that we were going to stick together, and we were going to keep in contact. So I can say that about you. So if you can't say anything else about yourself, I can say that about
I always get stuck with that question. I'm gonna have to work on that. It's like,
you.
hey, tell us something about yourself. And I'm like,
I don't know, right? I don't know, right? But hey, well, I'm gonna let you talk about the topic is changing the narrative. And I say changing the narrative because mental health has had this black cloud over it. When you say mental health, and the first thing people say is what?
I'm not
Cuckoo.
no, yeah. Or something's wrong with
Or
you, or
something's
yeah.
wrong, or
Mhm.
right. And so I wanted you to share the space with you tonight, especially, like I say, with this environment that we're in, to kind of change the narrative of what that looks like. We had a small conversation, not a conversation, we had a text this morning that
Woo.
really put things in
Yeah.
perspective, if you want to say, about the changing of the narrative, and the social media platforms, and the media platforms that we have, and people being able to read narratives, and see what you're doing. But again, it changed my perspective this morning, because as I'm up all night long. I was up at 4 o'clock this
Yeah,
morning.
both of us.
We
Uh-huh.
were, we
Yeah.
both were up. But what you sent to me this morning, really, I literally had to stop my car and go like, wow,
Mhm.
there is power in words. There is power in the pen. There's power in the narratives that we share on our platforms, whether it be social medias, whatever that might be. But there's power in that. So I keep saying but I'm gonna stop now. I
Oh
want
no,
you
you're
to
fine.
share.
You're fine.
I
You're
want you to
fine.
share this topic of changing the narrative of what mental health is, and changing that thought process, that when you say that mental health or behavioral health, that is a stigma that's stuck to it, that says that something is wrong, that you're on medication and all this other stuff, and you
Yeah.
you know postal and all that stuff. So I'm gonna let you turn it over to you, Miss Pamela Coleman, to tell the audience really, what does that mean?
So we'll go back just a little bit to come this way. My first book, which I usually have everything around me, but it's a mess in here. I was just writing for myself. And at the end of that, I realized that I was a mental abuse survivor. I always have a hard time saying that, because even though you know it happens and you're trying to help others, it's still hard to say that it happened to me. So I
Mm-hmm.
researched it, trying to figure out what I needed to do for myself. And I found out that 63% of African American men will not seek help. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
why? Well, you do some of the research, just your regular research, you find out that African American men were raised that way.
Yeah.
Basically, to shoulder everything, to take care of everything at home, and to not show weakness. If you cry or ask for help, you're showing signs of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat there and I thought about it for a minute. I said, if they're not seeking help, what can I do to help them? Because women always ask for help. Not that there's some out there that don't, but we'll ask for help before others ask
Mm-hmm.
for it. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what can I do? So the seminar came to mind, which my friend over here, she drove miles to support that. And I know I shouldn't say it like this, but we did reach some people, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't the vision that I had. It wasn't the 60, 70 people sitting there. Yes, we had people there, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And it
Mm-hmm.
took me a while to understand that if I reached one person, then I reached somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing you almost to this morning. So I thought, what could I do different? And it wasn't about the money, but it was about the money. But what could I do different that I could actually make men feel comfortable having this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
which came up with Unspoken, which you would think I have all this stuff around me.
I
But
have the book if you want me to show
oh,
it.
here it is.
I have
I
it.
think it's backwards, but
Oh, it's
this is the first one. And this is Unspoken. It's okay not to be okay. Mental health through the eyes of a Black man. So we have 26 different men in here who was very vulnerable, telling their stories about mental health through their eyes. Some seeked help, some hadn't seeked help, some were abused, some were bullied, and just why they won't reach out or why they did reach out.
Mm-hmm.
So that started taking some legs and reaching people. And then there were people who missed out on this book that say, hey, can you do another one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I did another one. And that one didn't have as many men in it, but the men that participated in it, this go around, not that to take away from the other group, but the ones that came into this book was transparent. The first group were vulnerable to tell you some things. This group was completely transparent. One gentleman talked about how he didn't think he was going to make it through the loss of his daughter. He lost his daughter within 30 days of birth, and he completely shut down. We had bullying, how one young man would go the opposite. You know, he knew his bullies was waiting at the front of the door, and he went out a different door every day. So we have, stories like that. One that really made me smile was Wendell Scott, the race car driver.
Race bus driver.
Yeah. So Stan did that one, and he took Wendell's story and put it into a mental health vision. Yeah. On how, mental health and what he went through, how that would work through the eyes of a Black man. So it's just a range of stories, which brings you to, and that was released 2 weeks ago, so I don't have that physical copy yet.
I have that. We will show the the cover.
You have that one?
I do. I do have the cover of that one. So we can show that cover really quickly. It'll show between us. So
that cover right there was done by one of the gentlemen in the book. He was an original Unspoken. So I was struggling with the concept and the cover for this book. And he does book covers, and he said, I'll do it. And I said, he had full range. And
This is
his
a
vision
wonderful.
behind that was the dark side of what the men were going through as they
Mhm.
come through to the
The
other side.
That is that beautiful cover, beautiful cover. Both of covers are amazing. It depicts, what we need to see as men of color. That,
Mm-hmm.
of course, you want to showcase what it looks like, and encompassing somebody who's written in the book to be the face of the second book is
Mm-hmm.
ingenious, which is great. Um, I Let's go back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
with your event that you had in Charlottesville a couple years ago. I was impressed with the conversations and the panel that was a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe a few of those men that were there are actually in the first book, if I'm not mistaken. Is any of those
Yes.
okay?
Yes, we had three from the
Mhm.
panel in this book.
Okay.
Yes.
And so it was a very enlightening conversation. But what really touched my heart was the amount of men that did show up,
Mm-hmm.
and that uh, put their ego aside and allowed their self to speak. Because now they felt like they were in a space that kept them safe, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, I'm just looking at you like, dude, you ain't masculine enough. You around here
Right.
crying, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it allowed them to really take off, as my saying, unmask yourself, take the
Mm-hmm.
mask off, and be transparent of how what you're feeling, because as you said, 63% of men are going through something, but they're not willing to go seek the help. But that's also being able to change the narrative. As we say, what happens in the household stays in the household should be
Mm-hmm.
something that we need to dispel. We need to stop saying that and stop change putting it in our young men's head that it's a shame for you to cry. Then what do they do if they don't cry? Then they blow up, right? And then when
Mm-hmm.
they blow up, what's going to happen next? The closest person to them, or maybe not the closest person, or somebody that don't cross their path or looked at them the wrong way. So
Yeah.
we have to have plenty of these forums to be able to showcase that we are here as women. And what
Mm-hmm.
I found out is I've been on several panels as it related to mental health. And what I'm finding is that we as women need to step back sometime and just allow them to be them. Because we're the nurturers. We wanna hug them and squeeze them and do all that good stuff. But sometimes they just need to just be, let them sit in it for a little bit, and then allow for them to understand what it is, and then we be there to help. But a lot of times we want to smother them, and it's going to be okay, baby, and I understand. No, you don't understand. Everybody's trauma is different from
Mm-hmm.
everybody else's. So I was elated to see that camaraderie in that space, even though it wasn't what you expected. But
Mm-hmm.
I was very pleased with just listening to the conversations that were had with those gentlemen at that round table, and the ones that actually came and took notes, and actually had the opportunity to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this is really a full circle, because you started off with the forum. Now I think you now have a LLC that's
Mm-hmm.
driven around this now. So you're in full circle mode with really showcasing what is going on. I mean, I'm super proud of you, because every time we talk, it's either you on a radio, a book cover, or magazine,
Or
and
something.
or something. But
Mm-hmm.
it's getting the word out that it's okay not to be okay,
Yeah.
and it's okay to be a Black man and say I'm not okay.
That is
So
that's what we're pushing. It's
yes,
not,
yes.
and we're not taking away from our non-African American men.
Of
We're
course
not
not.
we're not taking away from it, but we realize that their comfort level to ask for help is much it's easier for them,
Right.
because the road that they had is not the same as the way the men were raised
Hmm.
throughout the years. You
Hmm.
said something about the women in this
Hmm.
last book. there were a couple of questions because I did sent prompts and stuff for them, and a couple of them preferred to answer the questions, and then I compose it into their story. And one of the questions was about their mate or their partner. You know, if they couldn't, and this is where that transparency came in, if they couldn't support them in their mission to improve or to get help, is that a deal breaker? And every one of them said yes.
And you know what? It's important to understand what support looks like. Because support can come in several forms, right? Support can mean that I just need you to sit quietly and just listen to me vent. Support can mean that I'll go to your therapy sessions with you. Support can mean that support comes in several forms, right? And what I found out is when I was doing this, when I was doing a lot of these platforms and talking to men who on this topic, a lot of the women that did come to these forums, they were not able to really open up the way they wanted to, if that
Right.
makes sense, right? They would prefer that their, as they say, their women friend or their girlfriend or their spouses allow them to unveil what they had inside of them. Because a lot of them, even at one of the forums, I was talking to a gentleman. He had not dispersed a lot of the information until that night. His wife knew that there was some trauma that involved his earlier formative years, but she didn't know how deep it had went,
Right.
and why he decided he did not want to have children. So a lot of times these forums are opening up the doors for men to be more transparent because they see people that look like them and have the same stories as them, or potentially closely related to the stories that they've been through. So I think these forums need to continue to happen. I was talking at one of those forums last year, talking about making an event where we have men one day, then women the next day, and then the third day just family. But we also need, I'm a big push on the children's mental health because that's kind of left to the side. But having a big forum where it's a 3-day event where everybody is seeking some type of place to be able to put their stuff out there. You know what I'm saying? So I guess my question to you is, Miss Pamela James-Coleman, when is the next forum going to happen where you will bring these same, I know you've been on this road tour with them on podcasts, and eventually I would love for them to come on and speak to their input in the book. But when is the next time? When are you going to actually have another forum? I know you had one in Richmond earlier last year. When is the next one going to be happening? Because if we have viewers out here that would love to, be a part of that, where can they go? Or when are you planning on doing something, or even having another book out, the third chronicle parts of this? When is the next book? I know I'm pushing it into fruition, but
you lucky I love you. But you do sound like the masses. And I'm, and not that I'm knocking this at all. Evidently, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But everything that I had planned to do, my own personal stuff,
it's been pushed to the side.
Pushed to the side. So you've touched on a couple of things. Let's answer this one first.
Okay.
So there is a podcast coming out. Unspoken, real talk. So that's coming, and the men will be on there all the time. So we will be sprinkling in guests. We hit a road bump on our original launch of this. So I'm revamping it. But the men will be from this book, from the other book. We might have, knowing Yonder probably want to be on there permanently. So, gotta love Yonder. Yonder is what I like to call my family in Daytona, which we'll go to that. That'll tie into this too.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in Maryland, I usually go to Daytona every year, but I switched up to go support Dr. Rhonda.
Mm-hmm.
And while they were there, they were sending me pictures. The book, the concept, and the vision was overwhelmingly received.
Good.
They Miss Donna had them on a panel type situation, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house when people started just being very transparent about this, what we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
That they have been, I say they, but they say we, but anyway, asked to take the group and go to different places. So they wanted to, like you and I just go and say, hey, we're coming here, and it's all set up. So that's not in the forefront, but it's in the back of the mind.
So almost like a tour.
Yeah, that's what they called it. My Daytona brothers, they not to take away from anybody else that has done this, but they have been the biggest push of this. That, which I happen to be in my office for the first time ever, but by my Daytona brothers being the push, here we are.
That is amazing.
So So they sent me pictures. Yonder ordered the second one just to have a display, and the woman would not leave until she had the book. So the one demo that he had was gone.
Was gone, right?
was gone. So it's being received. The next thing to go along with that, because I'm kind of hopping around, so sorry about that.
You're
fine. This one will have a workbook with this cover on it, to pair with this one, and the other one has a workbook coming with it to pair the two together. So I'm gonna try to do, when we do our book events and stuff, I'll try to have bundles so they'll have the book and the workbook. They can read the stories and then do the exercises themselves. Yep. The website is coming, which I was working on it today. The only blip I'm having is that I would like to have, like, you're in North Carolina and you click on it and you see North Carolina and you click on that button and it gives you all the information for North Carolina. So that's what I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to do. But what I'm running into is that you just can't do North Carolina because you have Raleigh, you have Charlotte, you have
multiple different cities within
I gotta try to get their main number, like a 911 type thing, where it'll take you just for Charlotte, North Carolina, and then they'll be able to branch them out. So I'm trying to find that. So when they go to when it feeds to the website, you'll get the books, you'll get the information, and you'll find sources and support on that website.
So is the website, is it still in
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm still working on it.
For the current books that you currently have, where can they find those books currently?
They're on Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. So it's unspoken.
Yeah, it's unspoken. It's okay to be okay, and unspoken real talk. Real talk is the one where you got complete transparency. Unspoken is showing the more vulnerable side, where they're just getting used to talking about it. And then when you get to real talk, they're just also in real talk. I just thought about it. You also have fitness in there, and they tell you how fitness affects your mental health, and it's a section in there. And it's another one that I like, but it's not coming to mind right now. But it's the men are serious about it, but it's more comfortable for them to talk in the book
Mm-hmm.
than to be
In front of the front,
yeah, in
in the
front of
front of the
people.
cameras.
Mhm,
But,
mhm,
what I'm finding too is as this has evolved and really grown, the camaraderie, the
mhm,
ability for those men in these books to be able to have uh, somewhere else to branch out if they're not seeking therapy, professionally, they have people that they can still branch out to and reach out to and say, hey, man, I'm having a meltdown today. Can we talk? Or, give me a moment of your time for me to be just able to vent. So I think in the making of this, it's building relationships,
mhm,
but it's also spotlighting the importance of talking about it, this
mhm.
unspoken stigma of mental health in our community, in our Black and brown communities. So it's just amazing how this has really, I can say, snowballed. It just
Mhm.
really has picked up. I remember when we talked about you doing this, because we had did something, an anthology, a few months prior, and we kind of
Mhm.
talked about, we kind of shoot things off each other and
Right.
bridge things off each other. And so when you came to me, you're like, yeah, I think. I'm like, girl, go ahead and do your
I
thing. Like,
never thought that this would do this.
no, but it's good though.
I
When
know,
you
but I'm
make
just
it,
saying I never thought it. No.
yeah. But the good thing, you didn't think about it, but somebody else thought about it and planted it in your brain and said, let's go
Mhm,
and run with it. Your trauma was put on paper, and you figured, what else can I do? If I know, as a woman, I have the ability to kind of, seek the help, but my brothers don't feel like they're comfortable enough to seek that help. So being able to write your story down and realizing, let me connect the dots to see how I can help somebody else, and that's my brothers. How can I help them? So it was a win-win situation where you were able to realize through your writing that there was something that was pinned in you, but now you've established where now you have this almost this movement of men who are willing to be vulnerable, who have put their stories in your hand and put it in a book that is saving other people. So can we kind of talk about this morning's text, so that people can put it in context as to how these books are really saving lives?
I will do that. I want to do one
Oh, go
thing.
ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, the one thing.
Go ahead.
Because you brought it to mind about how the books were being received. Um, they weren't all received well. I received not text messages, but DMs, messages through Facebook from women
Okay.
who was not happy with me
Why?
because I was helping the men. I was asked why was
Hmm.
I pouring into the men at the rate I was, and I found myself defending myself for
Mm-hmm.
several messages until it clicked. When I started getting them, I said, "So why aren't you?"
Right.
So then they start slowing up. But each time I would release a book, different women would come into the messenger and go, "So why are you doing this? They're not going to listen to you. They don't want to hear what you have to say." And I'm like, I'm not saying anything. They are
They
talking.
are. I'm just
Providing
I'm
them.
just the platform.
I'm providing them the platform. But
Mhm.
for about a year, it just was constant. It wasn't like I was being bullied, but they were not happy with the fact that
Mhm.
I was doing it. And the other thing that goes along with that is that men are not comfortable with talking to women,
Mhm.
and they're not comfortable talking to people who don't look like them.
Yeah.
So the question to me has been, so why are they talking to you? Yeah, I get that a lot.
But
So my
but you
response is that I listen.
Mhm.
I
Without judgment.
listen. I don't judge. There's only one person that stands in judgment of all of us, and it ain't me.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
I, I don't do that.
Exactly.
So I listen and I
Mhm.
ask what I can do for them and not tell them what they can do. Because
Right.
if they're met with you need to do this and you don't do that. And the whole, they
That
shut down.
shutdown mode comes in.
They shut down. They shut down.
You-
So
you-
that's
yeah.
that's how they're able. And I think I have a sign across my forehead that say talk to me because I care. So I go with it. But it's easy for me to talk to them. And I don't know if it has something to do with working in the school system where you have to have that. But yeah, that it wasn't received by the women a lot, not all the women, but there was maybe 2% of them that felt the need to vocalize that they didn't like what I was doing.
But you know what? It's interesting because everybody has an opinion on whatever. But if you're not really walking the walk and understanding what the lessons is in this whole movement, then you'll never know. Because obviously those 2% of women who commented, they probably need some help and haven't seeked it.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
So sometimes people just, when people don't understand their purpose and they see people doing the purpose that they're supposed to be doing, then they now throw daggers. Well, I'm going to get her because this is what I should have been doing. Well, there's room for you to do too, because it's plenty of, you said 63% men. So you have the opportunity to do something, but you have to realize too that if you have men or you have young boys that are growing up in society that need to feel comfortable to be able to open up and share their feelings.
Right.
And again, as I said before, we need to change the narrative that says that what happens in the household stays in the household. So if we stay in the household, close the doors, close the blinds, everything is dark in there. Everything is dark in there. So how do we open up the blinds and let the sunshine come in? Because if we don't let it out, all it's going to do is fester and fester and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then now we're breeding generations of people who don't know how to express themselves.
Exactly.
So
exactly. I'm still going to get to your question, but I was so when I was doing this, I have a friend on TikTok of probably met him about the same time you did. And you know how, I can't sleep. So I'm just scrolling TikTok and I hit this live and there's this guy just sitting there and he is really down. He is talking some strange things. And I just stayed in there, in there. We didn't know each other, but I was just talking to him and, asking what was going on. Don't ask me why, but I guess I was supposed to be there. And we've been friends since. And he told me that probably was what started this for me. And I didn't realize it, but I never thought about it. But it was like maybe 3:00 in the morning. He's in New Mexico or something. And somebody broke up with him. Bad day at the job, and he was just going left. And I stayed on there with him for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, never thought about it. Because he said something to me, not too long ago. He said, you remember when we were talking on that live? And I'm like, oh, yeah. He said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. I'm like,
didn't even know it, right?
Didn't even know it. But to answer my dear sister's question, I was unable to sleep and my phone buzzed. And I looked at it because I got a buzz from you. So it was about the same time.
4:00 in the morning, right?
Yeah, right. And it was just like a thank you. And I'm like, reading and going, thinking it was spam. And he said that he was seriously thinking about going the unalive route. And he said that because I had been told that I post too much about the books. Also been told that too, that they're tired of seeing me post about the books. And I told him to unfriend me, block me, do something. So he said that he had saw the post when we were in Maryland about the men who had their books. And then he went back and started going through my feed and he got the books and now he's seeking therapy.
Again, those 2% of women who ask the question as to why That's the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sole reason why. Because you were supposed to be there. Your books were supposed to be posted. Your feeds were supposed to be looked at. People were supposed to hear that message. And he was supposed to hear that message. And that's why those 2% of women who say why you're pouring into them, that's why they need to just go ahead and unfriend you and keep it moving. Right?
Yeah,
Because this is what
that's
we
it.
need. This is exactly the stories that we need to share with people, to let people know that when you put pen to paper, when you put pen to paper and write things that can affect maybe just one, maybe two, maybe three, but just that one person to say thank you
Mm-hmm.
does something for your spirit, because it now motivates you to do even more for the cause. And it's a cause. Now, this is a rally around our Black men. This is how we support our men when they cannot talk to us. What other options and avenues do we give to them so that they can feel like they are not in this by themselves, that they have
Mm-hmm.
an extended branch, olive branch, to say, here is what I have for you. You don't necessarily have to talk to me. Read the book, look at the feeds, look at what I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
come and join a podcast. And at some point in time, you might decide to seek therapy, right? What I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So those 2% of women who were in your DMs and all that stuff, whatever, go kick rocks. This is the testament of what you want to hear, that your books are making a difference in Black men's lives. You know?
I had I think the other part, because because you do the anthologies. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, have you ran across the ones where they charge you to participate?
They do, but for me as
Yeah, so that's
yeah, I don't.
when I came up with this idea and this concept of what I was thinking,
Mhm.
I kept getting, how much do I have to pay? And
Mhm.
when I said nothing,
Mhm.
they were shocked. I
Mhm.
said, I'm not doing it. And every time I say this, people go, what? I'm not
What?
doing it for the money,
Mhm.
So the men can purchase their own author's copies, however many they want, and
Mhm.
they can
Yep.
sell them themselves.
Yes.
Whatever's purchased on Amazon, that's what I get. I think
Right.
maybe 5 has been purchased, but my guys get their 15, 20, and they sell them
Okay. And
themselves.
for themselves,
Um,
exactly.
one guy ordered 50 and he's giving them to everybody at church. But I'm not charging them.
Right.
There's nothing coming to me
Mhm.
but me putting it out there.
And that's the thing about it. I think when you mentioned anthologies on my end, I did the exact same thing.
Mhm.
Mine's is the Love Letter Chronicles. And so when I did the first one, it's like, well, how much you gonna charge? Nothing. It's free. I want you to be able to put pen to paper and write a love letter for yourself. And so when
Mhm.
you came up with Unspoken, I said, this is a love letter to my Black men. This is their love
Mhm.
letters. This is them putting their thoughts on paper. So it's always been free. Like
Yeah.
I don't ask you to, if you want to, like, even with the first book, I sent out free copies to everybody.
Mhm.
Here you go. This is your copy. If you decide you want to purchase more, you can get them, you can sell them, you can do whatever you want to. It's your choice. Um like, again, plenty of the probably the men that are in these books have never written anything. They're new, they're green to writing, but now
Exactly.
they are authors of their
Mhm.
own stories, and it's a story that nobody can take away from them because it's in their own words.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I get the same thing. Says it's like, you, how much you try?
Yeah, it's like
Nothing.
nothing.
Like, for real, you're not coming back? No, I'm not coming back with absolutely anything. This is free to you. Please take the
Yeah.
time, write what you want to write. It is your story. So yes, you sometimes it's purely not for the money. It's purely about um, allowing people to again leave their legacy in
Mhm.
words, because once it's on paper, nobody can change that narrative anymore. It's what
No.
you wrote. So again, yeah, I have gotten that
Mhm.
question how much it is, and I'm like, nothing really, and it's like over and over. Like I'm telling you, I'm
Yeah, and
20.
that's what, Yonder was telling
Mhm,
people that when I talked to him about the first one when we were in Florida, he said that, he had been in a couple before and, it was a couple $100 and he's like, it piqued his interest, but, he at that time he was thinking about the money. And when I said, I'm not charging, he said he had to sit back in a chair for a minute and ask, like you said, ask me again. And I'm
mhm.
like, I just want you, if you like to, it was no pressure for anybody. If you like
Exactly.
to, tell your story about what mental health is to you through your eyes.
Exactly,
And he's like,
exactly.
he said, from that moment on, he said, you've been my sister.
Yeah.
But because he said you weren't in it for the money, you weren't trying to get a new car with it, et cetera, et cetera. Because I got asked to a couple, and I really wanted to tell my dad's story, and one of
Mhm,
it was one that was just perfect to tell my dad's story, our relationship or whatever.
mhm.
And when she said 750, I was like,
Mm,
and then I got asked to be in one that was $1,200.
mm,
So I'm like,
mm.
not everybody has that. Oh, and please know I
Yeah.
didn't do either one of them, but not everybody
I
has
can
that.
imagine.
Yeah,
I
not
can
everybody
imagine.
has that, but they have a story to tell.
Right, 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 you're right. And I think, when it becomes when the joy of writing these or doing these things for purely just for the people, and you start now having to second guess your reasons behind it, then you no longer need to be doing it.
Mhm,
If your mindset is to say that I'm doing it for the people and I'm doing it so that they can share their story, so they can share their story to save somebody else's life, and then now I got to come back and second guess, well, should I be charging? Eh, you got to kind of sit in that and kind of figure that out for yourself. But all of the things that I've, like we said, have been done freely, and it's has been the cost of me. And I always say the blessing for me is being able to have a platform for people to share those stories. Just like you,
mhm,
my sister, you have a platform that allows people to be able to share those narratives and being vulnerable and being transparent and being feeling whole after a while. Like
mhm,
I got to be able to put this in my own words. I'm feeling a little bit different about how I'm feeling. I'm walking a little bit different. My shoulders are a little bit more straight. I'm walking a little bit more straight. I feel good about myself. Those are the things that's where the money aspect for me comes in. That's where
mhm,
I reap my rewards in seeing that, seeing the progress in people and growing. And I said this is evolving so quickly that it was 2 years ago in Charlotte that this started, like this forum, and look how much has happened over the last 2 years, going to
mhm,
3 years. So I know that there is much more is going to happen with this change in the narrative of what mental health looks like in our communities for our brown, black and brown
mhm,
men. And I think you are the best person to do this because you have a story to sell behind that and understand that narrative. Um, Again, I'm going to show the book. Can you show the book to the audience of the first one, and then I will show the second one? Unspoken. It's okay to not be okay.
and
That
this
should be
one is, everything that's going on in their mind, the
mhm,
whole
getting
everything that
through
could
the
be a struggle.
yes. And you said there was 26 men in that book.
20, hold on. So, yeah, it's
Wow, that is amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. That is truly amazing.
And it's,
So
when you go through just using Izzy, they have their own, I mean, it's not, I'm trying to get this right. It's
yeah,
not, yeah, it's not just, a chapter with their name. You get to put the face,
face to it. And that's
face with the,
important. That
Yeah,
is so important. So people can see the face in the narratives that go along with it.
yeah, you get to see each face, so you
And
can
it's
at least put
amazing.
together, you know, so this is Yonder, this is what
This is
this
what
is,
he said. This is
yeah.
his narrative,
So you're
which
not
is amazing.
guessing what this person looks like or trying to, put a face with the story. Their
Mhm.
face is right there.
Exactly. I love that. And so the second book, my beautiful people, is this one, Unspoken Real Talk. And from what my sister has said, that there is going to be a spinoff of an unspoken podcast, which I am going to be looking for very soon. I think
Mhm,
this is a great way to shift the conversation. Now that you have the book, now you will have a podcast to put those pictures of those narratives on a screen so people can hear their voices um, in real time, as you said, real talk.
mhm,
So I think this is amazing. Now, this one you said was more transparent, really digging deep into the mindset of these men, and being very transparent about what this looks like for them. And again, I'm going to keep pondering on that 63%. 63% is a big number, a big number. And I thank you, my sister, for trying to, slowly unravel that 63%, and
mhm,
put people in places where they are being heard, whether it be in a forum, whether it be in a actual book, a podcast. These are the places that people need to know that they have options. Of course, we want them to seek therapy, if that's what they're wanting to do in their journey, because this is a journey for them. This is not
mhm.
one stop fits all. It's a journey for them. And again, with what we're seeing in today's society, we need to be whole. And if this is the platforms that we can provide for our men of color, then kudos to you, my sister, for being able to see the vision, and sticking with the vision, and shutting down the naysayers to say you need to stop doing this and stop doing that. Keep pushing, because we need to see this. We need to continue to change that narrative that says that what happens in the household stays in the household. That's a myth we need to debunker in 2025, so that we can grow, so that we can have some healthy, whole, productive men in the world, because we need that.
Well,
We
you were talking about how, our men need to have, like, not like a mentor, but
Mhm.
someone they can talk to.
Yeah.
So let me throw this out. We are working on, hopefully May is going to be the first one to see the pilot, to see how it works. But we are working on Brothers Who Brunch. So
Okay.
we are looking at different places where which I'll get it set up and then I'll disappear because I'm not a brother.
Right.
But
Exactly.
kind of like not around football, but just that similar type thing where they all
Mhm.
just get together and have a conversation. They don't
Mhm.
have to talk about mental health. They don't, they just um at each table, the thought
Mhm.
process is to have conversation starters. So they each pull one out, talk to each other, whatever,
Mhm.
or however they want to do it. But it's going
Mhm.
to be set up, and they get 2 hours to brunch and talk
Mhm.
and exchange numbers, almost like networking,
Networking.
but
Mhm.
just talk and
Yeah.
see if we can get it up and running, then we'll
Mhm.
just keep that going.
Yeah, and I'm always going to be a supporter of whatever that is for you. You let me know what I can do on my end, and no kakalaki. Let me know what I can do to facilitate any of that for you,
Hmm.
support wise. But I think this is an amazing, amazing way to show the support. And I am equally grateful that you decided to take an hour of your time at 8 o'clock, almost 9 o'clock at night.
We're gonna leave that alone. We're not gonna talk about that. But if like when you do your event, the thought process is to, like with our sister, when she has her event in September,
Mhm.
is to see if which her and I talked about it. If there's an hour and a half that I can do something or because we have one, two, three. We might have three of our She Brothers that's in one or both books.
Mm-hmm.
So, put them kind of like what we did the last time,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
at each event, do something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to Donna for next year in Daytona to because she said now that I'm coming back that they can really tweak what they did,
This
because she did it off the cuff. Or like if you have something, or
year. Mm-hmm.
we're just trying to get into, not have
Spaces.
not to have the standalone, but just to slide in to other events for an
Mm-hmm.
hour,
For an
just to
hour.
get it out to
Mm-hmm.
the people.
I definitely, whatever I come up with on my end, you definitely will have us a spot to be able to showcase this. I am a mother of two boys, and so I
Mhm.
definitely would love to have that to be in some part of the program, whatever that program might be. Don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
speak.
but that's the plan. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm gonna move to see my done on purpose backdrop for my meetings like this. You ready?
Mhm. Oh yeah, I love that.
hmm It has like I forgot all the different sayings, but like the support of the brother with the
Hmm.
crown on his head. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we need to. We need to be that supporting our kings in
hmm
our princes. We need to make sure that we're there to support them again in whatever form they need that to be a support for them. But again, tell the audience again where they can find these two beautiful books, and I know that they're going to have workbooks attached to them soon.
Workbooks. Right now I experimented with one. I don't know if you saw that or not. And all that's in my trunk. I still hadn't unpacked from 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
It has a king on the front of it, and that too is a kind of like a journal. It has a prompt on one side, and they can write their feelings on that one.
Mhm.
But all of that's on Amazon.com
Okay.
under Pamela James-Coleman.
Okay. Okay. So
Workbook should be there within 2 weeks.
okay for both of them.
Because
Okay.
I sidelined some stuff
Mhm.
with all the changes that we have going on in the world today.
Mhm.
I am
Mhm.
working on a did you know Black history book. So
Okay.
it's little known Black history facts that we might not have known about. And because I think you might have seen me posting them throughout the month of February.
February.
Yep. So I went back in and I researched more to compile a book, which from that book is either going to be a board game or a card game of little Black known history facts.
Okay.
So
I mean,
I don't
always
sleep.
doing something. I know, me either. So, I am truly grateful, my sister, Miss Pamela James-Coleman, for just being able to just speak to you and share your wisdom and share what you're doing in this arena that we call mental health, behavioral health, whatever you want to call it these days. But being a support for whether it's unspoken or just playing the role in the back, but providing the platform for our brothers is amazing. And so I thank you for taking the time out to just speak about your baby, about your passion. And I always say we get thrown into things that we don't even know we're supposed to be thrown into. And here we're here 3 years later, and look where we're at. Look what
Yeah,
has
and kudos to
accomplished.
you too. Let's not forget you.
Oh, it's
You're
not
doing
about
it
me, sis.
too.
It's not
I know,
about me,
but you
sis.
still doing it. You still
You
doing
know
it though.
what? I thank God for all of that, but I thank Him for allowing me to sit across from you 3 years ago in Atlanta and see the evolvement and how you have grown in these 3 years. And I just, as I say always, kudos to you, my queen, to you, my sister, all the things that you're doing and the deserving things that are coming your way, the different accolades that you deserve. And I just thank you for taking the time. It's been back and forth. the conflicts and schedules, but see, it was meant, but I thank you for taking the time out to really show and share what it means to be in this arena, and kind of dispelling some of the myths and the things that come along with it. And again, to those 2% that was in my girl's DM, go kick rocks. But
Why kick rocks?
go
Okay.
kick rocks. No, but to be honest, I just really, I, I I am so grateful to be a part of your circle, and knowing you and seeing the impact that you're doing on these 26, 30, 40 brothers that are in these books, and the many more that are going to be a part of this movement. And I say
That's
it's a
asking
movement.
for it again. Yeah.
This is a movement. So I truly thank you for taking the time out tonight, and sharing your story, and hopefully not just the story that you told today, but the many more stories that will be impacting many more brothers along the way. So thank you, my sister.
Let's
So
hope.
is there any parting words
You're
before
welcome.
we say good night to my beautiful people in YouTube land and Facebook world and all that rest of that stuff?
Well, you know what we're gonna say. You know what we're gonna say. It's okay not to be okay.
And that's okay.
That's it.
Okay. Well, with that being said, Miss Pamela Coleman said it the best. It's okay not to be okay. And with that being said, please remember to always check on those who you think are strong, because sometimes they're not strong and they just need a word of encouragement. As Miss Pamela said, we want to make sure that we're providing them with the platform to be able to take off the mask, to be themselves, to be vulnerable. But we're here to support them, not tear them down, but pull them up by the bootstraps and let them know that we're here to support them. So until next time, my good people, make sure you take care of yourself. Until the next time on Creative Conversation, you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And that we're going to say good night.
Bye, sis.
Bye.